Hey drawing friends, today we're drawing the dandelion, which is an amazing flower. Some people think they're weeds and some people think that they're magical little balls of wishes, and that's definitely what I think. If you ever grew up with these as a kid, you would know that blowing all of the little seed pods off of the seed head of the dandelion meant that your wish would come true. Super magical. I love them so much. So after this video, you have to check out a time lapse of the life cycle of a dandelion. They start off as a flower, the little yellow flowers, and they're actually composite flowers like daisies are. And then after they bloom, they close back up and then they open again into this magic firework looking ball of fluffy goodness. It's like a bunny tail of awesomeness, and all of these are little seeds, and when they blow off, they actually have little weights on them that kind of help them to maneuver the wind. And then the bottom has little teeth on it so it can grab onto the ground and give it a better chance of living into a new flower. Oh my goodness. So as usual, this video comes with a PDF that you can download in the description box below. You can copy that or use it to kind of follow along with the video. And the description box is also where you can find all the supplies that I use in this video. If you want to follow along on Instagram, we're using the hashtag Watts Floral Series, and this is where people will be posting their drawings, or if you just want to check out what other people have drawn, whichever one you want to do. It's been awesome. Okay, I think that's it. Let's get started. Alright, so I have some reference that I licensed from Adobe Stock, and I loved this piece because it shows you all the different ways that you could see a dandelion. So you've got your flower, and then the bud, and another version of the flower, and then here you have the seed pod, and the different leaves. And the leaves are cool, they kind of look like some kind of shark. Yeah, like a shark. And then this one was really cool because it kind of shows you the pappus on a black background so you can really see them better. And they're almost like little fireworks or like spider webs. So, but this is the reference we're going to be using for the drawing. So when I'm drawing a dandelion, I tend, the flower part of it, I feel like is the most interesting at a 3/4 view. So if you've seen the first video in my floral drawing series, you would hear me talk about how I break down flowers into saucers, cups, and oranges. So here I'm using kind of a saucer shape to create the boundaries for the petals on the flower part of the dandelion. And I'm just going to be radiating cute little florets out. And you can do a couple of layers of them. Okay, so the view I'm doing is, this one's more of a side view of these florets, but I'm actually kind of going from the top view for this one. And then we've got these little bits. All right, and then for the seed pod, or the bunny rabbit tail, I'm gonna draw two bunny tails. And then I make a center part for them, and those are like a lot like fireworks. So you'll be drawing these lines that kind of radiate from the center, and then from the on the tips of it you'll be drawing little star shapes. And one of the ways you can do that to keep it simple is to draw little V's to start off with. And you can even add more as you go. And you can have a really, really full dandelion, or you can keep it simple, whichever. So, like that. And then from there, I do some coming down, so kind of invert the V shape. And then add two more at the tops of those V shapes. Okay. the seed head is going to be a bit like an oval, and then it will have almost tentacle looking pieces that come down like an octopus or a jellyfish. And then same with this one. Okay. And then we'll do those V shapes around again. Now you could definitely do it where you see some of these like coming towards you in the foreground. But I like to do it where I just see them around the edges because it kind of keeps it clean. But like here you can see that there's some all in the center. So it just depends on how wild you want to get with your dandelion. Like this one is more like the one that I'm doing where I'm just kind of having it go around the sides. Okay, I'm just going to kind of fill this in quickly so you get the idea. All right, so we've got two little jellyfish surrounded by fireworks. They're having a serious party without us. All right, and then you can do your stem however you'd like. I like to add a little bit of a curve to my stems just to give it a little interest. And then time to draw those really bizarre looking leaves. So they kind of, I think of this as like the shark head. And then you just kind of imitate that shape as you go down until you get to the base. Okay. So that's how I would sketch out a dandelion that included both the flower version of the dandelion and then also the seed version. All right, so let's go ahead and ink this. Okay, so here's the sketch that I'm going to ink, and for the demo I'm just going to do one of the seed pods, mainly because it's kind of time consuming and you're gonna be sitting here like, oh my gosh, my clothes are going out of style. So what I've been doing with this series is drawing everything with a pen that has a consistent line weight. I'm using the Tombow Mono drawing pen in size 8. And what I do is I ink it and then I go back in and add some thick line work to some of the areas to give it a little more dimension. All right, so I usually start in the center with the seed head, and it kind of looks like a fuzzy ball, like almost like a caterpillar is balled up in the center. Let's see if I can find the reference. The reason that looks that way is because the bases of the pappus are actually darker. So when you have them all on the seed head, they kind of make this fuzzy ball looking shape in the middle. And another thing is these little things are called bracts, and you can draw them in there, but I omit them just to have a cleaner design. And you typically don't see them in, more stylized drawings of dandelions. So I just take these things out. Really, it just kind of creates more visual clutter. So, that's a lot of times the fun in drawing is that you get to kind of design the piece the way that you want it. All right, so I'm going to start with the circle of V shapes. And again, we're kind of creating this look. Sometimes you'll see that they have little pieces that come down from the bottom, and I do draw those in, but for the most part we're creating this bowl filled with little filaments. Like that. So continue around. I'm doing 2 layers of them, and they kind of overlap a bit. Okay, and then I'm doing a reversed smaller V shape on the base of those. All right, and then I'm going to fill in a bunch of short little strokes into those V shapes to kind of fill it out and create those little firecracker looking seeds. So I guess this part kind of helps it float in the wind. And then the base of it has the little teeth that kind of attach to the ground. They're so cool. Very impressive dandelion, very impressive. All I can think about is tiny little fairies using these as parachutes. Wouldn't that be cool? I'm sure they do it. Now I'm just giving a little bit of texture radiating out from that center point. And when you do these lines, you want to make sure that they're all coming from the exact same center point. Otherwise, it'll look a little bit off. But you want to get that bursting firework effect. You can always fill in more of this top area if you want. Little seed parachutes. Alright, so now let's move on to the dandelion flower. So for this, I have a spot in the middle that I'm starting with, and I just make tiny little petals, or they call them florets, radiating out from that center. And the ones that get closer to us might become a little bit shorter since they're being foreshortened. And I just do maybe 3 or 4 layers of those. Okay. And then this next layer, I'm going to try to get that more oval shape back again. And again, make sure that these back ones are still like visually ending at that center point. Make the ones on the sides a little bit longer to get that oval shape back, and then I'll shorten them again as they go back into space. Alright, I want to let you see that real quick. Alright, so let's ink the stems. I always have a hard time doing the second side of the stem. Alright, and then for these leaves, they look a bit like I said earlier, like sharks. So start with that shark head and then kind of repeat that shape as it gets smaller. Okay. If you notice, they have the same amount on each side, so they're kind of mirrored on each side. All right. So there's the base drawing of the dandelion, and now you'll see me, I'm going to speed up the video, but you'll see me kind of add some thickness to some of the areas just to give it a little more interest. All right, so there is the finished dandelion drawing, and from here I could add in a little bit of watercolor or marker because I drew on a watercolor paper, like a smooth watercolor paper, and then I also, the Tombow mono drawing pen is water resistant, so you can add on top of that once it dries. So yeah, I would highly suggest doing the erasing part when it's completely dry. And also make sure that if you're using thinner paper like computer paper, just do the erasing part very slowly because sometimes you can, crinkle up the whole page. I decided I was going to add some color in real quick, and I'm just going to use the Tombow dual brush pens and just add a quick little splash of color. So I'll start with the yellow dandelion flower. And then I'm going to go ahead and add some green to the stems. I added blue to the seed pod because I feel like they're floating in the air, so if there's no color to them really, then I'm gonna make them blue. Like the sky. Great logic. And then I'm going to use a little bit of, I got a slight gray wash in here. But this is the Tombow water brush, and they're super awesome for adding a little bit of water to their dual brush pens because it turns it into a little watercolor drawing. Okay, well, that was super fun, and I just wanted to play with it a little bit. I tend to work everything out in Photoshop, so one of the things that I wanted to note is if you're going to add color to your drawing, I would scan it in first so that you have a copy of your black and white drawing, and then you can go ahead and play with it. But plus that also lets you print it over and over again onto watercolor paper if you have a printer that can handle that thicker paper, and you can keep practicing different color variations on the same drawing over and over again. Cool. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. I love dandelions, and I had so much fun teaching you how I draw them, and I hope to see you on the next video.